This podcast is brought to you by Voice and Vision, bringing help, hope, and healing to individuals, families, and communities affected by mental illness, addictions, and disabilities in southeastern Pennsylvania.
Welcome to Untold Valor, a podcast with a unique focus on veterans, featuring stories of courage, recovery, perseverance, and strength. Listen to hear veterans share their perspectives on what it's like to battle mental health challenges, combat addictions, and overcome other adversities unique to those who have served.
Welcome into another edition of the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. As we talk with veterans and folks that are serving the community, and once again on the podcast, we're joined with Reverend Ben, who's going to help us talk with our great guest this week. We've got a couple of lawyers here to chat with us about the things that they do at Woods and Woods, the veterans firm. So we're going to bring in Neil Woods, who is the president. Awesome to have Neil here. So we're going to chat with him, and Lori Underwood, who is the managing attorney at Woods and Woods. So great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. Neil, how are you?
Hey, great, Mark. Thanks for having us on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to the chat today and getting to know you guys and what you guys do to help the veteran community out. So thanks so much for being here. And Lori, thank you for being here as well. Thanks for taking the time for both of you guys to be here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And as always, Reverend Ben, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, everything's great. I'm glad we had the Wood and Woods online today.
I know.
I'm sure they had some good information to spread and to share with us and all the veterans listening in.
Absolutely. So as always, guys, if you got questions or concerns, please check the show notes at the end of the podcast there on the show descriptions. There's lots of links on how to get in touch with folks who can help you out at Voice and Vision, at Compure Core. And of course, we'll also have our guest website there this week as well, which is woodslawyers.com. So I guess we'll just kind of dive right in, guys. I usually open it up by asking our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves and why it is that you do or how you got to doing what you're doing. So I guess, Neil, we'll start with you since you're the president over there.
Yeah. Well, I got to pick my own title, and I thought it'd be the only way anyone called me president.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I like it. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the firm.
Yeah. So, I'm second generation here at the firm, and, it's a family-owned law firm. We have about 125 people that work solely in our VA disability department.
Wow. Awesome.
And so, that's what our entire firm is dedicated to doing, is really serving disabled veterans who, are not getting the ratings that they deserve from the VA.
Wow. Okay. So you guys got a big staff there taking care of that. That's fantastic. So Lori, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the firm.
Yeah, I've been with Woods and Woods for a little over a decade. Honestly,
Wow.
It's hard to believe. When we first started, we, as a law firm, we did a little bit of a mix of VA and then some Social Security and other programs to help individuals. We've migrated into strictly working VA over the years, and I just kind of migrated with that. I really enjoyed the practice, helping our veterans. I liked that area of law and working those claims, and it's been really rewarding. And I've spent the better part of the last decade working on our VA claims.
Gotcha.
Now kind of just managing that department, as well as I still have some clients that I'm able to work with as well.
Okay. So, Neil, you said your primary focus is, doing disability with the VA, helping out. So explain a little bit about that and kind of what you guys see on a regular basis and how you're able to help.
Yeah, usually for us, we have about two different types of people that call us. First of them, veterans and their family members that have not yet filed for benefits. And then really the other 50% of people that are calling us, have filed for benefits, received their initial application, and they are denied or rated too low. So those are really like the two categories of people that are coming to us. And we help those that, haven't filed applications yet. And, a lot of people win in the application phase.
Okay.
And then, those that, are not getting the ratings they want, we can really take them through the appeals process and try to get them up to the rating that they deserve.
Now, for those who might not understand what we're talking about here, what is the rating? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so the VA basically pays veterans on increments of 10%, 10, 20, 30%, all the way up to 100. And so the VA is going to sit down, take a look at your physical and mental conditions, and they're going to assign a rating to, what's happened there. So let's say, they find that your tinnitus is service connected. They may give you 10%, or,
Okay.
they may find that your PTSD is service connected, and they're going to give you 50%. So that rating, shows the severity of what your condition is. And then that rating also, at the end of the day, is how they decide on what amount of monthly compensation the veteran or their widow is going to receive.
Gotcha. Okay. And Ben, is that kind of does that mirror what you see when you guys are working with folks at Voice and Vision and Compere? They're coming in and some of the problems that they're having with disability.
Yes, and the thing is, a lot of veterans are even not aware of the fact that they have programs in places like Wood and Woods to help them. So I'm glad, so we want to have you on today to spread the word, because a lot of veterans are not aware of the things that are at their fingertips.
Yeah.
And I want to get the word out, because some people don't even know they can get disability.
Yeah.
They don't even know.
Yeah, very true. So, Lori, what does that look like? So if you're unaware or maybe have been denied, how do you kind of go through that process?
As a veteran?
Yeah.
From the veteran's perspective, I think most of them, they file claims. And I think, honestly, from what I see from most of our veteran callers, what they think is service connected is a very narrow view of probably what can be service connected, because they're thinking of, this happened to me while I was on active duty. A lot of times they're not considering things that are secondary in nature. So other secondary ailments that come about because of another condition which did happen during service. So there's really almost like a whole wide web in the way I look at it, and what might be related to your service. But I think for the most part, our veteran callers have applied and been denied. Either they have been not denied service connection, or they've been denied the rating that they think that they should be compensated for. And they're confused about what to do next. So they would give us a call, and, we'll always look at their case and give them a free evaluation.
Gotcha.
And see if we can help. And then if we can, take them on as a client, and hopefully we can increase the rating or help them achieve those service connections that the VA is denying them.
Gotcha. Now, when I asked you that question, you kind of said for the veterans. So maybe kind of think there's a difference then for spouses or family?
I think there is probably definitely a difference for spouses and family. I think a lot of your widows or widowers aren't aware that there are benefits that are actually available for them because of the loss of their spouse. So, they can receive some of the benefits that the veteran was receiving prior to their death. There is usually an expiration date on what you can receive that would belong to the veteran. But there is actually a benefit for the widow or widower themselves if they have lost a spouse because of something that was related to service.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Lori, it would be clear to say that you get phone calls from widows and widowers as well, not just actual veterans, but their family members as well. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, that's right. We do. We represent widows and widowers or their extended family. So sometimes if there is not a surviving spouse, there may be dependent children or dependent parents. They would qualify for that benefit the same as the widow or widower.
Gotcha. Neil, is there a time limit on some of this stuff?
No, that's one of the great things for veterans and their families are, I hear that all the time from clients who say, I applied 10 years back and I was denied, and they think that they can't, apply again today.
Okay.
And they can, because there is no time limit that you have to get these things filed by after you leave the service. So that is one of the great things about VA benefits is it is really great for veterans who sit on the sidelines for a couple decades and they think they're not eligible. And that's why, one of the number one things we recommend to veterans is every VA law firm out there, not just ours, they're going to offer free legal consultations. And we really suggest whenever people are going to start the VA benefits process that, if they don't talk to us, they talk to one of these VA law firms out there, because every day when we talk to new veterans, the veterans are really blown away to find out what benefits they're eligible for, because they just simply didn't know. They didn't understand how their condition is related to their time in service, or they didn't understand how their secondary conditions are. Or, in a widow's case, they didn't realize that their spouse passed away from a service-connected condition, which now entitles them to benefits. So the number one piece of advice to anybody out there listening today is Before you file, go ahead and reach out to a law firm and just have a free conversation with them about some of the things that you may be eligible for.
Gotcha. Now, I was doing kind of a quick Google search here a little bit on a couple of things because I'm a little unversed in this myself. So let me know if I'm going down the wrong path here. But I see like things like the 70-40 rule for TDIU benefits. Is that kind of the commonplace where people is that rating you're talking about?
Yes. So there's a couple different ways, like for example, for people to get to what we call individual unemployability.
Okay.
So individual unemployability is kind of its own special thing. So here's how that happens. You have a veteran who can no longer work from service-connected conditions,
Okay.
but they can't necessarily reach 100% rating with their mental and physical conditions. So individual unemployability gives us a couple different routes to get over to basically make sure that veterans are paid at the 100% rate because they are considered under law and unemployable.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And so, kind of looking at this stuff here, it talks about also a 5-year rule. And when I was asking that question about a time limit, is that a little bit different than obviously just being eligible? Is this what does this kind of pertain to?
I'm wondering if that is in relation to the surviving spouse benefit.
Okay.
There are several rules regarding the surviving spouse benefit, the widow or widower benefit. We were talking about earlier. There's a 5-year rule. There's a 10-year rule. I think there's a 20-year rule.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's all kinds of secret rules.
So it gets kind of okay. So like everything the government does, it gets a little complicated. Is what I'm hearing.
Why I would echo Neil to call an attorney and see what you might be eligible for. And if you don't meet any of those rules, if we're talking about the surviving spouse benefit, then there's yet another way that you can achieve that same benefit. And so that is basically ruleless. So it gets layers of complication.
A little confusing, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Neil and Lori this. Me being a veteran myself, and waiting for benefits, it takes a lot of time. It just takes years and appeals and all that. You got to just stay on top of it. Is it the same way working through your firm to get the benefits? Is it expedited any?
So, there's a couple ways to expedite claims for veterans, and there's going to be things like hardships, homelessness, whether the veteran has a condition that is terminal. But, don't let the word expedite fool you. That does not put you right to the very front of the line. Nothing with the VA system moves quickly. So, the average veteran is going to be in the appeals process for at least a couple years. And if you have to go to the Board of Veterans Appeals, sometimes you really can be in this appeal system for 5 years. That's not uncommon. It is largely a staffing issue that has been there at the VA for many years. So while I cannot necessarily speed up all claims, here's where we can help with that, is if you're going to submit something to the VA, make sure that it's done correctly. And because I can't tell you how many times veterans come to us and they have been fighting appeals for 4 or 5 years, and they're going around in this cycle of getting remands and going back and forth. And when they reach out to us and we take a look at their case, we can see why. They're not presenting evidence in the right way. They're not using the right language. They're not trained in this area of law, so they don't know how to present a case. Because that's one of the things that a lot of veterans out there, they try to handle their cases on their own for years. But, this is something I always kind of ask clients is, if you were getting a divorce, would you hire a lawyer?
Right.
If you were in a criminal proceeding, would you hire a lawyer? So why would you treat VA disability law any differently? These are benefits that can be provided to a veteran through the rest of their life and then on to their surviving spouse. So, kind of circling back, there's no way for us to just make these cases move faster. So the best way to get your case over with the quickest is to, do it the right way the first time.
Yeah. Who was it? It was Lincoln, right? That said the man who represents himself as a fool for a client, right?
Yes. Yeah. And he's right. Even lawyers, when they get in legal trouble, they hire an attorney. When they have tax issues, they hire a tax lawyer. For example, friends or family members call me about criminal or family law, and I don't practice in that area.
Right,
so,
right.
I have to refer them out to somebody who's knowledgeable.
Right. It's like I can answer a couple basic questions, but you really want to make sure you're talking with a professional in that arena, right?
Yeah.
To make sure
Yeah.
you're understanding stuff. So, I'm looking at the website here. So it's woodslawyers.com. Again, for the listeners, if you've got some questions, you'd like to reach out to the team and chat with them, woodslawyers.com. And I got to say right off the bat, you scroll down a little bit and Woods and Woods is freaking amazing, is a Google review on there. That's awesome. So it's got to make you feel good when a client says something like that and you guys just stick it right there on the website. Very cool. But I want to ask a question. So it says search for your conditions here. So are there certain conditions that are maybe not going to be accepted, or is it just kind of different conditions maybe change the process a little bit? Whichever one of you guys want to answer.
So anything that a veteran can link back to their time in the service can be considered a service-connected condition. So, for example, I'm really proud of my web team that builds our website. If you go to that search bar, you can type in just about any medical condition. We've created our website is really a resource for veterans. There's thousands and thousands of pages on there covering each condition and each topic. And, we've done that over the course of the last 15 years to really build this database on there to, teach veterans.
Yeah.
And, so that's one of the things that, like I said, we focused on for years is not really marketing. It's teaching.
Yeah, and education goes a long way. And just to kind of explain how simple it was, I myself suffer from vertigo and Meniere's disease, so I typed that in the search box and it came right up. So I came up with some answers and some things to kind of look at in that situation. So great resources that you guys have put here together on the website. Lori, anything else you'd kind of like to chime in on that category, on that topic?
Yeah, I do. I do want to follow up on that because I think what you brought up is a really good point, and it kind of hit on it in our intro there is just people don't realize how broad the possibilities for service connection really can be.
Okay.
Because I think they're thinking, this had to have occurred to me when I was on active duty. And I honestly can say, I think that there are endless possibilities. I can't think of anything that I could say, no, that could never be service connected. Because whether or not it happened to you while you were on active duty, it's enough if it was just caused by a service-connected condition. And that's called secondary service connection. So, it's just an endless possibility of something that might actually be related back to your service.
Yeah.
Not to mention there are just ongoing efforts at doing research on what some of this toxic exposure that our veterans have been exposed to is going to lead to. And that's just a rapidly advancing and changing area.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, so like the situation down in Lejeune, right? So
right.
Yeah.
See, I was one of those people that was stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
And I'm in that arena. That's what my question was going to be. Are you dealing with a lot of people with their conditions that are related to that?
Yes. All the time. I mean, we still have veterans who are from Vietnam who were exposed to Agent Orange who are just calling to file claims for the first time.
So truly, no time limit, as Neil said earlier.
Yeah, truly no time limit. Now, there was the PACT Act, which expanded benefits, and I think that kind of breathed some new life into not just Agent Orange, but all toxic exposure. Then they started allowing federal tort claims, which isn't something that Woods and Woods handles, but on the Camp Lejeune, which was in addition to the disability compensation that veterans were seeking for when they were poisoned, basically at Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
And we still have people calling for that. You have massive expansion of burn pits and Southwest Asia exposure, which is still happening. So there's a lot of things happening underground within research in the VA as far as toxic exposure.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The Camp Lejeune water, I have firsthand experience with that because I was diagnosed back in 2012 with esophageal cancer. And come to find out, they had to take out part of my esophagus and my stomach.
Oh, wow.
And I'm still recovering from that surgery.
Yeah, I imagine.
Well, and Ben, Camp Lejeune got a lot of the attention, but I think what a lot of people should learn, for example, if you go to woodslawyers.com and you search in our search box, military-based toxic exposure veterans benefits. I mean, this kind of stuff didn't just happen at Camp Lejeune. It happened at Anniston Army Depot, Aberdeen Proving Ground, Fort Dix, Fort Riley. I mean, there's a whole list of places that this happened.
Fort
So,
McClellan.
And yeah,
Yeah.
McClellan, it goes on and on and on. Norfolk, Pennsylvania, Naval Air Station. I mean, there's dozens of bases around the country that were polluted. So I think that's one of the things a lot of vets think, I can't get these toxic exposure benefits because I wasn't at, Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. But a lot of veterans, they find out when we talk to them is they spent time at multiple bases that were polluted for different reasons.
That's a great
And
point. Yeah. Go ahead.
I do want to follow up on that too. And it's not always about your location. A lot of times it was about their MOS, which was their job when they were on active duty. And we're finding out through medical research now that jet fuel is very toxic. So if you
Who would have
worked on the
thought, right?
flight line, yeah, right? Yeah. If you worked on the flight line and you were exposed to the fuel or exhaust fumes, we see a lot of conditions that are a result of that toxic exposure. And you now see the VA acknowledging that the veteran was exposed to toxic substances just through their daily duties.
Gotcha. Is there an age range, guys, that you're seeing more people from, or is this kind of, you're able to help anyone in the service regardless of, and I know there's no time limit, right? Whether you just got out and you're still younger or even older and maybe even starting to think about or be worried about long-term care issues?
Oh yeah, for example, I have, two good friends that I went to high school with, and they were both Marines, and they served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And, they're suffering issues from burn pits. Then I think of my uncle who was in the Navy in the late 70s, early 80s. He's experiencing issues. They would use degreasers all over the ship and obviously back then they weren't wearing gloves and they were soaked in this degreaser for days on end, while working on the ship. So,
Yeah.
these
My
things
daughter's on a
really.
nuclear reactor ship right now. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's I think the military is a little bit smarter today
For sure.
about
Yeah. They go
some
through
of
a lot of
this.
safety protocols today, for sure.
Yeah. Back then, it was just kind of a free for all. And my uncle talks about not only using the degreaser, but smoking cigarettes on the ship while
And
they're
next to
doing
the
it.
jet fuel.
Yeah, next to the jet fuel. So,
Mm.
but nowadays we know. So I'm not saying the military is perfect today and not still doing some of these practices, but I do think they are better and take more precautions. But you say that, and then just 20 years ago in Iraq and Afghanistan,
Right.
hundreds of thousands of veterans were, downwind of these burn pits
Well,
that had everything in the world.
yeah. Situations, right? I mean, you do the best you can to try to prevent things. I think as a society, we've gotten smarter about a lot of that stuff. But obviously, and when the rubber meets the road, as the saying goes, sometimes things are going to happen, right? And you're going to be exposed to whatever. So. But that's a great point. And you guys have, all the way up to, even long-term care. They're right there on the website talking about, can I get some help in that arena? So if you're, on the older side, there could be some services there they could help you with. So a lot of good stuff here, guys.
And Neil, I want to ask you this. Camp Lejeune, it's a proven fact that water was contaminated. Why is it taking the government so long to compensate the guys that are waiting? It's taking forever.
Nothing with the government or the VA moves quickly. So, it took the government decades to recognize Agent Orange veterans. And even back in, I think it was '08 and '09, they expanded the number of conditions for Agent Orange exposure. So it just takes them so long to move in any direction. Um, we hope they keep moving in the right direction and expanding some of these things because, sometimes too, like with Agent Orange, they didn't know that some of these conditions were going to come from it. Sometimes the science shows over the decades that,
Right.
you see these higher numbers in veteran populations and you look at it and you look why. So, but Camp Lejeune was kind of an egregious case because they knew about it and they didn't take any action. So for decades at Camp Lejeune, the military knew that the water was poisonous and they knew that it was being used for bathing, drinking, cooking, gardening. And it was really a simple fix too. We're talking about just taking a pipeline and connecting it into the city water
Wow. Okay.
and just not pulling it from the wells on site. They just didn't do it.
Yeah. So what is What's the kind of process? I know you said it can be a long time. Is there a range that it tends to fall in for people, or is it truly a case-by-case basis on how long some of this can take?
Sometimes we get a case in and, we look at it and we can take it through, the Appeals Modernization Act has a couple different lanes that we can take claims through, which was rolled out a few years ago to help move claims through the VA system quicker. And anyway, when we submit claims through some of them, we can get some of these cases wrapped up in under a year.
Okay.
But that is not the average case. I mean, I still have clients that we have been working with since 2015. And here's what happens. They go up to the Board of Veterans Appeals. The Board of Veterans Appeals remands it back down. We get another decision. It goes back up to the Board of Veterans Appeals and remanded back down. And we just kind of get stuck in this process with some of these. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do. We just have to hope that there's a good judge and good people at the VA working on the other end of these claims.
Gotcha. All right. Well, guys, what we typically do when we do and you guys have provided us with a wealth of information here, so I don't want to overload people too much, but I kind of want to wrap things up with this. If there's any, final thing that I didn't ask that you'd like to talk about, please, jump right in and chime that out there for folks. But typically what I do is I end the show with saying, if there's a message you'd like to send to veterans who are listening, so I'll let you guys both kind of chime in on that. What would you say to them, Lori, for example, if there's something that you'd like to really convey? You said you've been there a decade, that you see on a regular, or something you just kind of want to share with veterans that are listening to maybe do something for themselves. What would it be?
I think the number one thing, if I was going to just give them one piece of advice, is not to give up. Because as Benjamin said earlier, it takes so long and it really wears on a person's psyche, even if they're just sitting waiting for the VA to adjudicate their claim. And a lot of times years have passed and it gets to be frustrating and it wears them down. And I've had a lot of veterans who want to give up or abandon their claims, or it's just so stressful, they can't take it anymore. And I think the best thing you can do in that situation is call a lawyer, have someone help you with your claim, take it off your mind and take it off your plate, but never give up.
Yeah,
because you've got so much time invested in it. These are benefits that you deserve, and you're just the cost is to yourself. Like, hire someone who wants to get in there and let them fight it out for you, and take it off of your mind, but don't give up. Like, hang in there. It will be resolved. You just got to have the patience of dealing with the large bureaucracy. And it's always going to help to have someone who's going to get in there, who knows what they're doing, who can make sure that your claims are being handled in the right way.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Neil, same question.
Lori took the words right out of my mouth. It was going to be don't give up, because those are the conversations that we as attorneys have to have with our clients every day who have fought for many years. And we understand why it's so frustrating. They want to be heard. It's because to most of our veterans clients, it's more than just the money. They want the government to acknowledge what they've done to them. So that's just the number one thing I can, help re-stress after Lori here is do not give up. Just keep going forward with your claims. Have somebody there who you trust handling your case, and, let them run with it, and you try to go and about your life. And so it's very important, I think, to have good representation, just not give up.
Well said, guys. So if you guys need some help, please reach out to the team at woodslawyers.com. That's woodslawyers.com. And we want to thank our guest, Neil Woods and Lori Underwood, for being here today. They are the Veterans Firm. So, guys, thank you so much for your time. As always, we appreciate it. If you need some help, again, there's going to be links in the show descriptions below, so just click on that to make things easy for you. Neil, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, Mark, thanks, Ben. I really appreciate it. It was nice talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
We're going to have you guys back on again.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
you, Lori.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to get there too. Thank you so much for being here.
That's all right. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, it's great. Good conversation. A lot of good information. A lot of great information at the website. So definitely, again, go check it out. Just the search tab alone is fantastic. Just all the stuff that's in there you can check out. So again, go to woodslawyers.com and check the show links below. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. This has been Untold Valor, Veterans Recovery in Action. We'll have those links in the podcast show notes for you this week. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next time here on the program. You've been listening to Untold Valor by Voice and Vision. We hope you found the information and resources discussed today helpful. As always, thank you for listening and for your support. Remember to stay connected with us through our various social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to visit the website, voiceandvisioninc.org. That's voiceandvisioninc.org, where you can sign up for our blog and find free resources and information on upcoming events, webinars, workshops, and get support. You can also access our free help and hope guide for individuals and families struggling with substance use and addiction. If someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help because you and your life matter. Remember, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available to you at any time by dialing 988. We are all ambassadors of hope and recovery, and if you want to share your story, please contact us. Compeer Corps is also looking for veteran mentor volunteers and veteran participants. To find out more information about Compeer Corps, please call 610-541-0790. That's 610-541-0790. You can find all the links and contact information for the resources mentioned on today's episode by checking the description and the show notes section of your app. Thank you again for tuning in and for your support. Until next time, this has been Untold Valor.